A and B are independent events. Determine the probability of A and B. So whenever you have independent events, the probability of A and B should be equal to the probability of A multiplied by the probability of B. So this is 1/4. Determine the probability that at least one event occurs. So the probability that at least should be equal to the probability that A occurs, the probability that B occurs, the probability that A and B occur, because it must be at least one. So it can either be the probability of A occurring alone, or the probability of B occurring alone, or the probability of A and B happening at the same time. The probability of A alone should be equals to, so we know that the probability of A, the whole of A, is 1/3. So the probability of A alone should be 1/3 minus 1/4. So this is going to be 1/12. The probability of B, the whole of B, is 3/4 minus the probability of A and B occurring. So this is 1/2. The probability of A and B is just 1/4. So this is 5/6, 0.83. Let me just try and show you where I'm getting these values. So the probability of A and B is 1/4. The probability of the whole of A is 1/3. So in order for me to get the probability of A alone, I must take the whole probability of A and then subtract by 1/4 in order to get this portion. That's going to give you the 1/12. And the probability of the whole of B is 3/4. And the probability of A and B is 1/4. So that gives me 1/2. So that is 1/2, and that is 1/12. If you add 1/12 with 1/4, you will see that you get the probability of the whole of A, which is 1/3. And then when you add 1/4 and 1/2, you will get 3/4. So that's where those values are coming from. The probability that it will snow on Drakensberg Mountain is 5%. When it snows on the mountains, the probability that the minimum temperature in central South Africa will drop below 0 is 72%. If it does not snow on the mountains, the probability that the minimum temperature in central South Africa will drop below 0 is 35%. Clearly indicate the probabilities associated with each branch by drawing a tree diagram. So the probability that it will snow is 5%. It's 5%. Meaning that the probability that it will not snow should be equal to 95%. When it snows on the mountains, the probability that the minimum temperature will drop below 0 is 72. So when it snows, the probability that the temperature will drop below 0 degrees Celsius is 72%, meaning that the probability that the temperature will not drop below should be 28%. If it does not snow on the mountains, the probability that the minimum temperature will drop below, so it will drop below 0 degrees Celsius, should be equals to 35%. And the probability that it does not drop below 0 should be 65%. So the probability of snow and below 0 Celsius degrees, the probability of snow and that the temperature does not go below 0, the probability that it will not snow and the temperature will go below 0 degrees, and the probability that it does not snow and the temperature will not go below 0 degrees Celsius. Calculate the probability that the temperature in Central South Africa will not drop. So we need to find the probability that the temperature will not drop below 0. So we know that the probability that it will snow but the temperature will not drop. So it must be 5% multiplied by 28% plus the other probability that it will not drop below 0 should be 95% multiplied by 65%. So I'm getting 0.6315. 10 learners stand randomly in a line, one behind the other. In how many different ways can the 10 learners stand in the line? So they stand randomly. So they can be arranged in 10 factorial ways. 10.3.2. Calculate the probability that there will be 5 learners between the two youngest in the line. So these lines, they represent where all the learners are going to be standing. So let's start with the two youngest learners. So I'll just choose any points. So I'm going to put the first youngest learner right here. Okay, so right now I have two choices to pick from because there's two of them. And then I know that after this one, there must be 5 learners in between the two of them. So the other one should come here. So that there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the second youngest. And then now I only have one choice to pick from. Okay. So now I've used up 2 learners. I am left with 8 in total. So right here, I'm going to have 8 choices to pick from. The following one, I'm going to have 7 choices, 6 choices, 5 choices, 4 choices to pick from. that will complete the 5 learners that are in between the 2 youngest ones. Okay, now I'll be left with 3 choices to pick from, because I've already used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I am left with 3 of them to pick from. So I'll have 3 there, 2, and have 1 there. So the number of ways will be equals to 2 factorial, and then I'm going to have 8 times 7 and then I can sort these ones 3 factorial ways. So the probability of event should be equals to 80/64 over 10 factorial.